Bound to the Moon Alpha Part 3. Chapter 17, The Night She Wore His Crown. The crown was heavier than she expected. Not in weight, in memory. As the ceremonial circlet settled onto her head, every eye in the palace watched her. Some with awe. Some with hate. Some with hunger. But none with trust. And Elira didn't want their trust. She wanted their fear. Escorted by Kale and the black-armored guard, Elira walked the length of the throne hall toward the Moonfire Basin, the final step of the Luna coronation. Tradition demanded she cast moonblood into the flame. But when she reached the basin, she did something else. She raised her palm, already scarred with the second mark, and burned the crown instead. It caught fire instantly. Gasps echoed across the chamber. "What are you doing?" Kale asked sharply. Elira turned slowly. "Let them remember me as the Luna who wore his crown," she said, voice calm. And destroyed it. The next day, Elira rewrote the Luna's duties. No longer ornamental. No longer submissive. No longer a silent moon beside the throne. She created her own seat of judgment. Her own court of blood right. Her own guard, wolves sworn not to Kale, but to her. Some elders left in protest. Others watched in terrified silence. Kale said nothing. But behind his eyes, something stirred. A flicker of respect. A flicker of fear. That night, Elira found a new rune scrawled in blood on her chamber wall. Old language. Feyborn. She summoned the high priestess to read it. The woman went pale. It means, one Luna seated. One Luna sealed. One Luna still sleeping. "I'm the one seated," Elira said. "The second is sealed," the priestess whispered. "Buried beneath the throne, like Lyanna." Elira's breath caught. "Who's the third?" In the deepest part of the palace, the place even Kale wouldn't enter, a heartbeat stirred. A body shifted beneath layers of spell-woven silk. Eyes blinked open. And a voice whispered a name not spoken in centuries. I was his first bond. She was his chosen one. But I am the one the throne made for itself. The second Luna was waking. And she didn't want the crown. She wanted revenge. Alone in the Hall of Blades, Elira carved a new law into stone. The Luna shall bear no chains. The Luna shall rule beside, never beneath. The Luna shall not be chosen. She shall choose. And as the final rune glowed, her mark flared with pain. Because the bond had felt it. And it was changing. Chapter 18, The Queen's Secret War. The mark on Elira's palm hadn't stopped burning since she destroyed the crown. Kale said nothing, but she saw it in his eyes, the worry. The war behind them. He felt it too. Not pain. Not fear. A presence. Something watching them through the bond like a wolf just beyond the trees, waiting for one of them to turn their back. And it wasn't him. And it wasn't her. Elira called for the royal archivist, a blind wolf who remembered too much and said too little. She demanded access to the obsidian vault, a forbidden section sealed since the First Era. Inside, among relics of failed queens and cursed bloodlines, she found a book with no title. Wrapped in flesh. Bound in black iron. Sealed with blood. She broke the seal with her own mark. And the book screamed when it opened. The first page bled words into view. 3 shall rise by bond and blood. 1 to bind the Alpha. 1 to bury the throne. And 1, to break the moon. Elira flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. There were illustrations. Etchings of queens with crescent-shaped scars. Wolves kneeling before them. A throne split in three. Then she found it. A final passage. The last mark shall awaken both. One will rise beside the Alpha. The other will rise within the throne. Only one shall survive the final moon. Her throat tightened. Not if the second Luna existed. When she rose, Elira would have to kill her. Or die. She didn't tell him what she read. Not right away. But Kale could smell secrets now. He cornered her in the stone garden, where the moonlight fell white and hard against their skin. What did the vault say? Nothing, she said. You're lying, he growled, voice low. You've been different since the flame. Since the mark changed. She turned on him. I'm different because I'm surviving a bond that was built to consume me. Kale grabbed her wrist. And this time, he showed her. A vision. A throne of bones. Elira, cloaked in moonlight, her mark blazing like fire. Another woman beside her, identical in magic. Opposite in will. And Kale, on his knees, snarling, split between two queens. When the vision faded, Elira gasped. You saw her too, she whispered. Kale nodded. I saw her below the throne. In the palace crypt, where no wolf dared tread, something stirred. Stone cracked. A coffin sealed in moonsteel shivered. From within came a single exhale. Then a voice. They crowned her in my place. Let her rule. Let her bleed. But when the final moon rises, the lid split open. And the second Luna opened her eyes. That night, Elira stood before the mirror, no longer fearing it. She pressed her fingers to the mark. It pulsed. Responded. Demanded. She whispered, if she rises, I'll meet her. She drew her blade, silver-edged, forged from the blood of the last Alpha Queen. And for the first time, her reflection nodded back. Carved across the inside of the moon throne, in runes visible only during a lunar eclipse, a message glowed. She who survives will not remember who she was before the bond. Chapter 19, The Betrayal Beneath the Altar. They used to say the Moonstone marked the chosen. Now it only marked the doomed. Elira's mark had stopped glowing at dawn. But she felt it, deep under her skin. A shift. A pull. As if something in the bond had switched direction. And now, the thing she'd been tethered to for weeks, Kale's wolf, Kale's will, was starting to resist her. She went to the seer in the shrouded wing, an exiled blood witch who hadn't spoken in decades, whose wolf had been taken in punishment for crimes against the throne. She had no voice. But she had ink. On her floor was a basin filled with wolf blood and a shard of moonstone. Elira dropped 3 drops of her own blood into it. The seer placed her fingers in the mix, and began to draw. A map appeared. Of the palace. Of its underground. At the very center, a flickering sigil marked with 2 crescent moons. The second Luna had risen. And she wasn't hiding. She was growing stronger, beneath the altar Kale had marked Elira on. Elira returned to Kale's chambers. She expected silence. Instead, she found chaos. Furniture destroyed. Walls cracked. Guards injured, one unconscious, bleeding from a claw wound. Kale stood at the center, shirtless, panting, his claws still half-shifted. Eyes wrong. Too bright. Too cold. You lost control, she whispered. I didn't lose it, he rasped. It was taken. She stepped closer. His wolf wasn't behind his eyes anymore. It was beside him, splintered. 2 auras now. Kale's, and something mimicking him like a shadow's echo. You're splitting, she said. The bond's breaking you in half. No, he murmured, hands trembling. It's trying to break you. In the mirror temple, Elira lit the last lunar flame, the one meant to reveal truths in blood. The flames danced across the reflective pool. Her face. Kale's. And then, hers again, twisted into something else. Not her reflection. Her rival. The second Luna. They looked alike. But her eyes glowed violet. And her mouth spoke a single phrase Elira felt in her bones. You are the mistake. I am the memory. Only one of us is the bond. That night, Kale called for her in the moon throne chamber. But when Elira entered, he didn't see her. He saw Lyanna. He reached for her, murmuring old words in a language Elira didn't understand, but the bond did. And for a moment, her skin burned where Lyanna's had once been marked. Kale, she whispered. He blinked. And stepped back. Elira. His voice was torn. Conflicted. Full of something she'd never heard from him before. Uncertainty. After Kale left, Elira placed her hand on the throne one last time. It pulsed with light. And then, a vision. 3 women. 1 flame. 1 crown. 1 grave. She saw the past. Lyanna. Elira. And the third, the second Luna, buried under the altar, her soul not sealed, just delayed. The throne was calling her forward again. Not for vengeance. For replacement. In the deepest room of the Moon Palace, the second Luna took her first step into the light. Her eyes glowed with moonfire. Her voice split the silence. She has the crown. But I have the origin. And when the final moon rises, only one of us walks out of this bond. Chapter 20, the day she left him. It wasn't the blood that scared her. It was the silence afterward. Kale had disappeared into himself again, lost, snarling, trapped in a war between the alpha he was and the thing waking beneath his skin. The bond pulsed in Elira's chest like a warning bell. But worse than Kale's unraveling was her own memory beginning to fade. She woke that morning forgetting her wolf's name. And when she looked into the mirror, her reflection was wearing the wrong eyes. Elira returned to the obsidian vault. She opened the prophecy book again, now bleeding from the spine. A new page had written itself. The final phase of the bond shall take one of 2 forms. Fusion, where both become one. Reversion, where the original soul consumes the Luna. Beneath it, more text. The throne remembers its first queen. And memory is stronger than the moon. Elira clutched her stomach. Something was moving beneath her skin. Not Kale. Not her wolf. Something else. A soul that had once worn her face. That night, she found Kale standing before the moon throne, hands bloodied, eyes flickering gold and black. You're losing yourself, she said. He didn't answer. You called me Lyanna. He turned, slowly. Did I? Her voice cracked. Do you know who I am anymore? I don't even know who I am anymore. Elira stepped into the light of the throne. I went to the seer, she said. I read the true curse. Kale didn't speak. She continued. The final bond doesn't just tie us. It chooses who stays. And who's erased. A beat. His breath hitched. Elira. I'm not going to fade for you. She stepped closer, placing her hand on his chest. I'll fight for you. I'll kill for you. But I will not die to be another version of someone you used to love. Kale's voice was raw. Then what are you saying? She stepped back. I'm saying we finish this bond together, or not at all. She turned and walked out of the chamber. For the first time since their bond began, the tether between them snapped. Not severed. Slackened. Unstable. A war cry waiting for its battlefield. In the tunnels beneath the palace, the second Luna stood barefoot on ancient stones. She smiled as the pulse of Elira's hesitation surged through the bond. She left him, she whispered. The mirror beside her rippled. A shadow version of Kale appeared, eyes full of pain and rage. The second Luna placed her hand on the glass. Now he's mine again. And this time, I don't need the bond to win. Alone in the ruins of the Temple of First Light, Elira took a blade to her palm and carved a crescent between the old bond marks. She whispered to the stars. You won't erase me. You won't replace me. If I have to become something new to survive, I will. She dropped her blood into the silver basin. It hissed. Then glowed. And a voice answered her vow. Then be reborn, Luna of the last moon. And burn the others down. Chapter 21, The War of Wolves. The throne room doors opened at dusk. And the second Luna walked in. Not announced. Not escorted. Just, present. A cloaked figure in silver and dusk-gray robes, eyes veiled, scent masked by bloodroot oil. Every high elder turned to stare, but no one questioned her. Because her papers were perfect. Her story was airtight. Her new name? Lady Silent of Hullamore. A minor noble from a distant bloodline. Another girl seeking favor at court. But Elira knew better. The wolf inside her recognized the lie. Because it wasn't just her name that was false. It was the magic braided into her aura. The kind only someone once bonded to Kale could carry. Lady Silent rose quickly. Too quickly. Within 2 days, she had secured a seat at Drenna's table. By day 5, she was invited to advise on ceremonial rites. And by the end of the week, she was sleeping in the Queen's wing. Not Elira's. The old Queen's wing. Lyanna's wing. The place Elira had ordered sealed. Now reopened. By Kale. When Elira confronted him, he said nothing. Just offered a cold, cryptic reply. The court needs balance. She offers it. The next morning, Elira summoned 3 wolves. Tezsan, her former rival in the Luna trials, brutal, loyal, and tired of being overlooked. Merrick, a rogue bloodhound who swore off pack loyalty after his alpha sold his sister for peace. Naira, a quiet girl with a cursed wolf, one that could walk through dreams. She met them in the shattered ruins of the Temple of First Light, where old gods had once crowned queens before the throne was carved. She laid her dagger on the altar. I don't need subjects, she said. I need believers. They didn't kneel. They slit their palms. And pressed blood to hers. Rumors spread. That the new girl, Lady Silent, had Kale's favor. That the Luna was being phased out. That Elira had lost her bond. She didn't fight the whispers. She weaponized them. She let the court believe what it wanted. While in the shadows, she was gathering wolves from every corner of the palace. Wolves with scars. Wolves who had lost faith in the throne. Wolves with magic too wild for the council to contain. They called themselves the Ashbound Circle. And when Elira bled for them, the moon above the temple burned white. That night, Kale stood between the 2 wings of the palace. On one side, Elira. On the other, Silent. 2 wolves. 2 bonds. 2 queens. He closed his eyes, and felt them both. But only one spoke through the bond. Choose me. Or I'll choose for you. The Moonstone, already fractured 5 times, shattered in a new place. A sixth split. Deeper than the rest. It bled silver. And from the crack came a gust of air that whispered 2 names. Elira. Selen. And beneath them both, one final word. Reckoning. Chapter 22, The Luna Who Chose Herself. The air in the throne hall felt like storm clouds before the lightning. Chaol sat upon the throne, not flanked by Elira. Not flanked by the council. Flanked by both contenders. Elira stood to his right, cloaked in ash-gray, silver-eyed, and unbowed. Lady Selen, veiled and soft-spoken, stood to his left, her magic humming like a secret wanting to be screamed. The court watched with breathless silence. Every pack had sent a witness. Every wolf waited for one thing. Chaol's choice. Chaol stood. His voice echoed like thunder through the court. Too long, the throne has chosen. Too long, fate has twisted what wolves should claim for themselves. He looked at Elira. Then at Selen. And then at the flame between them. Tonight, by the law of the first moon, we invoke the trial of the bonded flame. 2 contenders. 1 crown. 1 Luna. Gasps rippled through the court. A high elder choked. That rite hasn't been performed since. Chaol's glare cut him off. The moon cracked 6 times. The throne bled. We will not survive a 7th fracture without clarity. He raised the ancient blade of judgment, Fang of Liana. And brought it down through the ceremonial flame. The sparks burned violet. The trial was declared. Elira stood in the preparation chamber, Naira and Merrick tightening her armor. No gowns. No jewels. Just obsidian-forged pauldrons and silver leather stitched with bloodruns. Tezsan handed her a dagger. Only one rule, she said. Don't die. No. Don't hold back. Elira gave her a grim smile. I haven't held back since the moment I touched the Moonstone. Chaol came to her chambers before the trial. Alone. Unarmed. But not at peace. I don't want this, he said. You created this, she replied. She came back. I didn't call her. Then why did you open the door? He didn't answer. Elira stepped close, so close their bond shimmered between them like thread pulled too tight. If I survive this, she whispered, you don't get to choose again. And then she walked away. The courtyard was ringed in fire. Above them, the blood moon burned. Elira and Selen stepped into the circle, barefoot, marked, eyes locked. No words. No introductions. No mercy. A gong rang. Selen struck first. Her claws glowing with violet flame, wolf magic and throneborn fury combined. Elira dodged, spun, and slashed back, her own magic flaring, blood and bond pulsing with every move. The crowd howled. Chaol watched, expression unreadable. Not because he didn't feel. Because he felt too much. Mid-fight, Selen slammed her palm into Elira's chest. A blast of memory magic struck deep. Elira staggered, gasping, as visions ripped through her. Liana screaming as the throne consumed her. Chaol crying out her name. And Selen, her face revealed, standing at the gates of the temple, forgotten, erased, broken. You were never chosen, Selen hissed. You were never remembered, Elira snarled back. And her wolf took over. Elira's shift came fast, brutal, flawless. A silver-gray wolf wrapped in bond light and dripping with raw fury. She tackled Selen mid-spell, slammed her into the stone, and held her there, claws at her throat. Selen gasped. but didn't beg. She smiled. Do it. Finish what Lyanna couldn't. Elira raised her claws. The court held its breath. She didn't strike. She stood. Looked to Kael. Looked to the throne. Then back at Silen. And whispered. I'm not the queen they expected. I'm the Luna I chose to become. Then she turned to the flames. And threw her dagger into the heart of the moonfire. The fire exploded skyward, silver and violet merging into white. And the seventh crack split the moonstone. This time, not with pain, but with decision. Chapter 23, The crown shattered for her. The moonfire still burned white. No one had ever seen it before, pure moonlight, untainted by blood or prophecy. Elira stood at the center of the ring, still shifted, silver fur singed with magic, her breath rising in steam beneath the crackling flames. Across from her, Silen lay unconscious, her magic spent, her mark dimmed to the barest flicker. The court was silent. Even the wolves in the balconies didn't growl. Because the throne was watching now. And it had decided. High Priestess Elira approached the moonfire ring. Her ceremonial robes had caught fire, silently, eerily. She didn't extinguish them. She simply walked through the flame and stood between the two lunas. She raised her hands. The trial is complete. One did not strike. One did not yield. And so, the throne has chosen. The moonstone shattered. Not cracked. Shattered. A shockwave surged through the palace. Runes on every wall glowed. Wolves across the kingdom howled without understanding why. And then, the flames bent toward Elira. Not to burn. To bow. In the main hall, the moon throne, the oldest seat of power in the realm, lit from within. Its runes realigned. Its sigils split. And a new symbol formed along the spine of its backrest. A triple-marked crescent. One for Kael. One for Lyanna. One for Elira. Kael stepped forward slowly. The crowd parted for him. His wolf was quiet, watching. He stood before Elira, who now looked like both herself and something more. Not divine. Not monstrous. Just, complete. He dropped to one knee. He didn't speak. But his bond did. You're not mine anymore. You never were. I'm yours. The high priestess moved to crown her. Elira stopped her. I don't want the old crown, she said. It is tradition. It is a shackle. Elira stepped toward the throne, raised the ceremonial circlet Kael had once worn. And snapped it in half. Gasps echoed. But no one moved to stop her. Not even Kael. She placed one half at her feet. And pressed the other into Kael's hand. We rule together. Or not at all. The throne lit with silver light. And did not resist her touch. That night, Elira dreamed. The kind of dream that leaves ash in the air. She stood on a field of moons, floating, broken, spinning in silence. Ahead, Lyanna waited. But she didn't speak. She simply smiled. You did what I couldn't, she whispered. You remembered who you were. Even when they tried to bind you in my memory. Lyanna reached for Elira's hand. And placed a final crescent over her heart. You weren't chosen. You chose. And now the bond is yours to command. Elira woke with tears on her cheeks. And fire in her blood. Silen was taken to the hollow tower. Not as a prisoner. As a warning. Her bond had been undone. The throne had rejected her. Not for being false. But for being too loyal to the past. As she was led away, she whispered to Elira. You may have won him. But you woke something beneath the bond that doesn't care who wins. And Elira believed her. Because her mark burned hotter than ever. In the ruins beneath the moon throne, where no one walked, where no one breathed. A flicker of flame remained. Not silver. Not gold. But black. Coiled. Patient. Unclaimed. It whispered not to Kale. Not to Elira. Not to Silen. But to something else. She wears your crown. But not your name. And names always return. Chapter 24, The Blood Moon Wedding. They didn't call it a wedding. Not in the lunar court. They called it a binding of equals. No priestess. No crown. No oath to kneel. Just two wolves beneath a silver eclipse, their hands bound in moonlight, their marks glowing in tandem as the bond finally, fully, sealed. But even as Elira looked Kale in the eye and whispered his name, she felt someone else watching. The court gathered in the moon garden, where the ancient trees bloomed only during blood eclipses. Elira wore no gown. Kale wore no armor. Their bond was enough. The high priestess called for silence as the moon reached its zenith. She raised the ceremonial blade, once meant to sever fated ties. But Elira stopped her. I don't need steel to keep him, she said. I choose him. And he chooses me. That's all the bond needs. The priestess stepped back. And the moon blazed white. As they pressed their foreheads together, Kale whispered. I see you now. Not as the Luna fate gave me. But the one fate couldn't control. Elira smiled. I don't want to control it anymore. I want to change it. Then their bond marks flared gold and silver, their souls intertwining in a flood of memory, magic, and fire. The final mark, the hidden one, etched itself just above Elira's heart. A full moon with 3 crescents wrapped around it. Kale gasped. That's not the bond, he whispered. That's. But before he could finish, the earth beneath the garden shuddered. Later that night, Elira wandered the throne chamber alone. Something pulled her. Not the bond. Not her wolf. Something older than either. She followed the crack in the Moonstone, the one that hadn't healed after the final trial. Behind the throne, the wall split open with a hiss of magic and dust. A staircase. Carved in stone that hadn't seen light in 1,000 years. She descended. The air thickened with silence and salt. At the bottom, a door with no handle. No runes. Just names. Carved into the stone in looping, ancient script. She traced her fingers over the first. Lyanna. Below it, Silen. Then her own. Elira Thorn. But beneath those 3, she found a 4th. Almost faded. Almost erased. But not forgotten. Valesai. The air trembled. Her mark blazed. And the stone beneath her feet whispered. She was the first. She is not gone. And she wants her throne back. Upstairs, Kale doubled over in the middle of the binding feast. His claws extended. His breath fogged. And behind his eyes, something blinked awake. Not the wolf. Not the bond. A presence. Cold. Female. Infinite. Whispering a name he hadn't spoken in centuries. Valesai. Deep beneath the moon throne, behind the sealed chamber Elira couldn't open. A single black flame flickered to life. It pulsed once. Then formed a hand. Clawed. Feminine. Familiar. It pressed against the stone. And a voice echoed through the forgotten corridors of the palace. You think this ends with love? You think the bond was the story? I am older than the moon. And I am ready to rise. Chapter 25, The Queen of the Next Eclipse. The moon did not rise that night. It screamed. The sky turned red, then black, then pulsed like a wound reopening. Kale stood on the palace balcony, every hair on his arms raised, his bond mark glowing out of control. He couldn't feel Elira. Not fear. Not fire. Nothing. Which meant she had crossed the threshold. Into the place even the moon throne feared. Elira stood in the ancient chamber beneath the throne. The name Valesai now glowed on the door in liquid moonlight, as if freshly carved by the stars themselves. Behind it, the presence waited. She didn't knock. She touched it. And the door dissolved into dust. Inside, a room of obsidian mirrors and silver chains, suspended in air and silence. And at its center, bound in light, Valesai. She didn't look dead. She looked preserved. Not in age. In will. Her hair floated in the stillness, her eyes glowed like moons, and her lips moved without breath. You wear my crown. You carry my bond. But you do not understand what either of those things were meant for. Elira raised her chin. Then tell me. Valesai smiled, sharp, cruel, tragic. The bond was never meant to connect lovers. It was built to bind gods. I didn't lose my throne. I locked it, before it could finish turning me into something even I couldn't control. Elira stepped into the floating circle of chains. Each link hummed with memory, her own, Kale's, Liona's, Silen's. And beneath it all, Valesai's. A vision tore through her. Wolves bowing not in respect, but in fear. Kale, young and marked, bleeding beside a burning altar. Valesai, crowned in bone and light, screaming as the throne fed on her power. And refusing to be erased. She sealed herself beneath it. And waited. For the next queen powerful enough to finish what she began. You don't have to fight me, Valesai said. You just have to let go. Let the bond become what it was always meant to be. Not a tether. A weapon. Elira dropped to her knees. Not in defeat. In clarity. She saw the truth now. Kale was never the danger. The throne was never the prize. The bond wasn't a love story. It was a trap. And Valesai wanted her to unlock it. I could become you, Elira whispered. You were always me, Valesai replied. Elira looked up, eyes glowing. Then let me end us both. She pressed her hand to the bond mark. Channeled everything. Her wolf. Her love. Her rage. Her refusal. The mirrors around the chamber shattered. The chains burst into light. And Valesai screamed, not in agony, but in release. Elira stood, hair wild, skin lit with magic, and whispered. The moon chose you to begin it. It chose me to end it. She opened her palm. And let the bond burn itself away. In the throne room, the Moonstone exploded into dust. Kale collapsed, then gasped as his mark dimmed, then settled. Balanced. Whole. The throne pulsed once. Then went quiet. And for the first time in centuries, no bond radiated from its surface. The wolves in the hall bowed, not to the throne, but to the echo of Elira's name. Elira emerged from beneath the palace, barefoot, her eyes darker, wiser, free. Kale met her there. He didn't speak. He simply opened his arms. And for the first time, She walked to him as his equal. Not bound. Not chosen. Not claimed. But herself. A new crescent climbed the sky, silver-edged, unfamiliar. The throne was empty. But not dead. And carved into its back, glowing faintly under starlight, a final line appeared. No bond. No master. Only her.
Every tale you hear here leaves a mark on the world beyond. If this story stirred something in you, leave a like to weave your magic into ours. Share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice spins a new thread in the arcane tapestry. And subscribe to our YouTube channel Arcane Stories, where myths breathe, shadows speak, and destinies awaken. The next legend is already waiting for you.